The way that I play Zoe with Fleetwork and my Riftmaker Blackfire Torch build is good and you should play it. I think it's the best way to play Zoe right now, and if you don't and you play anything else, you are just hard trolling and you are just, yeah, making the game harder for yourself for no reason. Just look at my match history, okay? I'm the only person who's playing Fleet Zoe in the world, literally, and is performing this well on here. Like, there's no way you're telling me that this is bad, right? Like, you can't tell me that Fleet Zoe with my build is bad. Fleet. And I'm basically playing in Grandmasters MMR, right? In West. So you cannot even use the excuse, oh, you're playing against terrible players. You're playing in Silver. No, bro. I'm almost playing in Challenger MMR in EU West. Okay, let me pause the music for a second and I will explain to you why this works and why this is good, right? So let's say for example you're playing Zoe with full burst, okay? You're playing full burst Zoe with Ludans, with Lichbane, with, you know, Sork boots, all this kind of stuff, right? In the past, that used to be good. In the past, full burst Zoe was good. Why was it good? Because you had, first of all, her spells were overpowered, right? Not overpowered, they were overtuned. That meant that her Q, her E, her passive, her W, they had higher AP ratios, so stacking a lot of AP was insanely good, right? But Riot nerfed that. And in the past, let's say for example in Season 13, everyone was still playing in the Mythic item system full burst Zoe, which was a mistake. The correct way to play Zoe in the past, at like Season 13, it was not full burst Zoe with Ludans and Lichbane and all of that stuff, all that kind of stuff. It was to play with Shattered Queen, Crown, into Lichbane, into Deathcap, right? You're still buying burst, but you're buying burst on second and third item because you have all the survivability that you need from your first item already, which is the barrier from Shattered Queen and the health, because it also used to give health back then, right? So you had all the CDR that you needed from your items, so you didn't need to go CDR back then in Season 13 from runes, so you could just stack AP from runes and Lichbane Deathcap second and third item, because those two items used to be pretty good back in the day, right? But the game has changed. Ludans is a garbage item right now. On this patch and on the previous patches, Ludans is the worst, most gold inefficient item out of every Lost Chapter item. And people are still buying it because they're used to it. You play Zoe, oh, I should go Ludans because the guide tells me to. No, bro, you're trolling. Like, instead of going full Ludans Zoe because the guide tells you, clock into my stream, man, and see what's actually good to play on this character, you know? So, like, right now, in this current meta, you cannot really itemize, how do I say it, defensively, right? If you, in the current item system, mage item system, if you want to have a lot of magic damage, a lot of AP, you're going to lack CDR and you're going to lack health. Overall, you're going to lack a lot of survivability, right? And another thing is that in the current rune system, I see a lot of people going still for Electrocute, right? Electrocute and in overall the domination tree is really inefficient and really bad, because in order to utilize the full tree in high elo, you're sacrificing so much, and by the time your entire domination tree is active for you to use, the game might already be over by then, because most high-low games are already over by 15-20 minutes, right? So by the time you stack your entire Revenus Hunter, or you get all your Treasure Hunter stacks, or you get meaningful value out of your, let's say, sudden impacts, the game is already over, right? And if you're playing into like ranged matchups or like matchups that you cannot really like get in close range without dying to proc your Electrocute consistently, it sucks. And of course, Electrocute also sucks because in team fights, you cannot really get value out of it, because in late game, your playstyle is more of an artillery mage than a burst mage, right? You E, you Q, or like you Q, you Q, then you ult, then you Q again, and you throw your E out because you don't want to get bursted first, so you're not going to be proccing your Electrocute as much, right? Dark Harvest is good. If you want to play full Ludans, full Bears, Zoe, you should go Dark Harvest. I think it's way better than Electrocute right now on Zoe. But Aerie, let's say for example in the current meta, because it's a really early game, early to mid game oriented meta, if you go Aerie and you look at the tree with Aerie, you have Mana Flow, you have Transcendence, and you have Gathering Storm and Scorch. Scorch is bad on Zoe because you don't proc it easily. You could go Water Walking, but you're not going, if you're not good at the game, like for the average player, you're not going to be able to use it correctly and you're not going to get value out of it. So you go Gathering Storm for that reason. And why is Gathering Storm bad in high elo? Because games are over before 30 minutes, and the meaningful value out of Gathering Storm, you get it by like 30 minutes, right? So it's useless for you. Transcendence, it's okay, it's good, of course, some CDR is nice, but Mana Flow is not good, I think, on Zoe, because by the time you get your Lost Chapter, you don't have any more mana issues ever. So the only window where you actually have mana issues playing Zoe is early game, before you buy your Lost Chapter, right? So this is where this rune page and where this setup comes in, right? You go for Fleet. Fleet gives you sustaining laning phase, because let me remind you, you're not playing teleport, right? As Zoe, you want to play with Ignite, right? So you want to play with Ignite on a champion like Zoe, and because you're not playing teleport, oftentimes if your enemy laner can out sustain you either through mana or through health, you're fucked, because you're going to miss a lot of minions and your tempo is going to be bad and stuff like that. And in high elo, that matters a lot, actually, so much. It can literally win you or lose you the game instantly, because you just run out of sustain during your laning phase, you miss a wave, and then the enemy opponent is always one level up on you, half item up on you, and you just go into a skirmish and you lose because of that, and the game is over, right? So this is why Fleet, first of all, the healing, you can get value out of Fleet very easily, because you're playing a champion that in all stages of the game you can flash a lot, you can pick up flashes from your opponents, so that counts as a blink, right? The blink from flash stacks your Fleet faster. Also the movement speed from your W, each time you press W, because you get extra movement speed, you stack your Fleet work faster, and after level 6, each time you ult, it works just like LeBlanc W, right? You ult, you stack your Fleet when you press ult, and when you come back from your when your ult animation ends and you come back to your original spot, you stack Fleet again. And because your ult has really low cooldown, like 6 seconds basically, on average throughout the game, you can stack Fleet a lot faster with the movement speed, all the flashes that you use, and your ultimate, right? So you get a lot of healing out of it, a lot of sustain throughout the game, even in the laning phase, right? Plus, on the laning phase, during the laning phase, the extra healing is really fucking up. The extra movement speed in the early game is really OP, because you get to trade a lot better, and you get to get into range to hit your spells in laning phase a lot better. And if you are an experienced Zoe player and you know how to trade around waves, that extra movement speed for Fleet in the laning phase is crucial. It's so broken, so broken. You're going to win so many lanes because you land an extra Q or two that you wouldn't have landed otherwise if you didn't have the movement speed from Fleet, right? So you press Q, then you auto attacks a minion, you get the movement speed, you walk up, you recast Q, and you're in range to hit your spells because of the movement speed, right? So that's fucking broken. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the small window where that you have mana issues playing Zoe is the early game, before you buy Ludans. Sorry, not Ludans, Lost Chapter, sorry. By the time you buy your Lost Chapter, though, like from early to the point that you buy your Lost Chapter, is the window where you have mana issues as playing Zoe, right? So after you buy your Lost Chapter, you don't have any mana issues. So that's why this rune is good, because it not only helps you during skirmishes, so that you don't run out of mana in skirmishes, right? You kill somebody, you get mana, even if you're low on mana, you can keep on fighting. It helps you in the early game before you buy your Lost Chapter, which is the weakest point where Zoe can actually run out of mana, right? So this helps a lot, really good value out of it. CDR, Legend Haste, 15 CDR, you stack it, you get CDR, nothing crazy here, just basically just get CDR, really good for your champion. And then cut down, of course, because Coup de Grace and Last Stand, you cannot get a value out of it really easily. You're basically playing like in most of the game, you're going to be playing an artillery mage, so the Cadon as a poke champion has a lot of value. And for your secondary tree is where you're going to start itemizing, not itemizing, you're going to start building toward, not building, what is the word I'm looking for, man? You want to look, in your second tree, you want to look for something that provides you with tankiness, because as a champion, Zoe has built in a lot of damage, but what is the weaknesses of Zoe right now? She's way too squishy, you're dead by anything, and she's very mobile, and the immobility kinda gets fixed by fleet, the movement speed, and the tankiness that you need, because you're squishy as heck, you get from your secondary rune page and your build, which I'm going to explain in a bit, right? You get bone plating, which is good against, like, in majority of games, right? And especially into lanes where the enemy wants to take short trades into you and then back off, and they're really good. If you don't want to run bone plating, you can always go conditioning and just scale for later, but in most of games you're going to be playing bone plating, right? And then unflitzing. Riot buffed this rune. I think it's really strong, it's really good. This rune, especially in the early game, is so broken because you almost every single champion in the video game has some sort of slow or crowd control effect, so during the laning phase this is really strong. 10 armor and magic resist in the laning phase for free, and like for such a long time as well. It's just too good, man. It's too good, and it has value throughout the game. It's just too good. Like, as a champion, as an early game champion that you want to actually like snowball from early game but still be kinda useful and scale to late game, like, this is just good. And it's a rune that's good early game, and it's not scale, it doesn't scale, but it scales with my build, right? Because if you are not itemizing HP, it's bad. The reason why you go on flinching is because you buy a Riftmaker on second item, and your armor and MR scales with the HP that you're buying on second item. If you're not buying a Riftmaker, unflinching is not good. You should buy a Riftmaker with unflinching. Or like, you should get unflinching only if you play second item Riftmaker, because you want extra health to scale with the armor and MR that you get from this rune, right? So that's why it's just broken. It's really good, and you're already dealing with the weakness of the champion, one of the weaknesses of the champion, which is you're way too squishy. You go CDR because on a champion like Zoe, attack speed is useless. Not useless, it's good. If you because you can auto attack a lot, but the extra attack speed gets outscaled way too fast. Way too fast. The extra attack speed. So I always prefer to go adaptive or ability haste, and because I like my spells being short cooldown, like, let's say I like my Q being like on 3 items. I want my Q to be at a 4.1 or 3.8 to 3.9 second cooldown, and I want my E to be at a 7.5 second cooldown, but at the time I'm at 2 or 3 items, right? So this scales really well, and ability haste on Zoe also is really OP during the laning phase, because during the laning phase, during early game where you haven't bought any ability haste, your Q and your E are 2 spells that are really high cooldown. Your E on base, the base cooldown of your E is like 16 seconds, right? And your Q is like base 8 seconds during the early game, and if you're playing against good players, having such high cooldown is really bad, because you want your cooldowns to be like as low as possible, because during the laning phase where every single spell matters, if you fuck up your spells a lot, enemy player, because he's good, he's going to punish that window where you don't have spells. So because your spells are such high cooldown, this helps a lot, not only during your early game but also during your mid and late game, right? Because it scales really well. Here you go adaptive as like a default, and then scaling health because you want that extra health to scale your unflinching even more, right? The armor and the MR you get from this. So this is why this rune page is too good on a champion like Zoe right now. And let's get to the build, right? For the builds, let me see. Let's take for the example this game, right? First item, Blackfire Torch. Blackfire Torch is the best loot and the best, I think, one of the best. I mean, you could argue that you could go like Seraphs, but I don't like it a lot. I prefer to go Blackfire Torch because you're playing Zoe and buying TR with this rune page, and this playstyle doesn't make sense. So Blackfire Torch is always better for that first, because it's a pretty good first item spike and it scales pretty well into the mid game, so it's not that bad. You get at 20 haste, you get this decent amount of AP and everything that you need basically on an item. It's way more gold efficient than Ludans, so it's just a better item. Yeah, the stats are good, like why shouldn't you buy it, right? Now for bots, somebody asked me during when I played this game, why do you go plated steel caps, right? Plated steel caps in the current patch are the best boots in the game. They are the most gold efficient, they're really fucking good. They're the most broken boots in the game right now. And when I see, for example, the enemy team has, for example, 2 auto attackers or 2 or 3 physical damage champions, why would I not buy this? It's just too good. And with feats of strength, if you get the feats of strength and you can upgrade them, even the upgraded version of plated steel caps is still the best version. They are still the best boots in the game, right? So like, why wouldn't you buy it? They're the best boots in the game. And because you're also going Riftmaker on second item, the health that you get from Riftmaker scales the armor and from this item even more, right? It's just too good, and it makes you even beefier and even tankier. And Riftmaker, of course, it gives you health, which you want. It gives you a good amount of ability haste. It gives you a decent amount of AP, because you get 70 AP from the stats, but you also get around 10 AP from the passive Void Infusion, so that's really good. You get basically 80 something AP, 81, 82 AP from this item, which is really good. And on top of that, it has a bit of Omnivamp, and it also does 8% extra damage, which is an insane interaction with Zoe, Q and T, and how your trade pattern works as a champion, right? And then from here you go Creepbloom. Creepbloom is underrated as fuck. It's really strong. I think it's better than Void Staff. Creepbloom is underrated. And Riot is buffing it next patch, so it's going to be even stronger. So yeah, I don't know, bro. Creepbloom is just too good of an item. Underrated as fuck. I'm building it every game. It gives you a good amount of CDR. The stats are not bad. It also really good in solo queue, because the extra healing can actually win you fights which are close. It's cheap. It's a fast power spike. It's just good. And it also is more gold efficient than Void Stuff, right? The stats from this item right now they're a bit more gold efficient than Void Stuff, and on the next patch they're going to get even more gold efficient, and it's going to be an even better item. So like, I don't know, it's just too good. And then of course you go Rabadons, because you want to overall like scale your ability power and the AP on your items, and because you're playing Zoe, right, you want the damage. Nothing to explain here. And here you can either go Medjais, which I like, because if I get 10 stacks on Medjais, the extra movement speed makes my champion, the extra 10% movement speed makes my champion an absolute monster in the skirmishes to mid to late game. And if you don't want to go Medjais, or if you can't, and the enemy team has a lot of magic damage, for example, or a lot of champions that have a lot of engage that you want to dodge, like let's say for example Blitzcrank Q or a Syndra Q, you should go Banshees, because the extra MR from Banshees, Banshees is better always than Zonia's. It's a more gold efficient item, and the stats are really good for you. A lot of AP and a decent amount of MR. So that, and also that MR scales with the health that you have from Riftmaker and the scaling health shard. So you're getting even more value out of it. And overall, you have 3000 HP. At level 18, you have 3000 HP. You have a decent amount of armor and MR, which scales with this HP that you have. You have really low cooldowns on Q and T. Your E is at a 7-second cooldown, and your Q is at like a 4-second cooldown, which is really nice. You still do insane amount of damage. You have movement speed. You're dealing with your mobility issues through fleet. You're dealing with your like squishiness issues through bone plating and flitzing, and Riftmaker played steel caps like afterwards. If you want to go, as we said, Banshees, and it's just you still do damage. You have health sustain for the laning phase. You have mana sustain for the laning phase. You have CDR. You have everything. Like everything is covered. There is no like weakness left with this setup and with this build that I'm doing, and you should do too, because it's too good. You should do this. And yeah, that's about it. If you have any questions, let me know, and it's time to queue up.